Good morning and welcome to Rise with Perspective, Living in Gratitude today, coming to you from the beautiful Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland. Rise with Perspective, Living in Gratitude today will be moderated by none other than Mr. C.J. Joseph. He is a SAG actor, producer, host, and advocate. He is going to definitely tell you more about himself. But today, we want to thank those of you who are joining us from around the world and various places inside the city of Baltimore, Maryland. We are a conscious group and organization, so we adhere to any COVID restrictions or requests. And today we are coming to you from multiple places around this great city. We want to thank Charm Cares. They are around the city today with their team, Charm City Connectors. We thank you so much under the headship of Miss Crystal Phillips. What you're doing is greatly appreciated. We also want to thank our host site, Father Richard Meadows. A little note, history will be made in just a few days as Father Meadows will be installed as the pastor rector of the historic St. James Episcopal Church on Lafayette Square right here in Baltimore. That will be June 15th. And it will be officiated none other than the great presiding bishop himself, Michael Bruce Curry. He and his wife, Linda Meadows, they do welcome you to join. You can continue to follow us right here on Living in Gratitude today, and we will update you on this beautiful occasion. Once again, we want to say thank you to Father Meadows and his great staff for hosting us and being our host site right in the beautiful city, again, of Baltimore, Maryland. So are you ready today to learn what it is, why it is, and how we do it so effectively? Rise with Perspective, Living in Gratitude today. So it was once said that the best way to help a child is to stabilize the guardians. That was a dialogue that came up between Ken Henry and Nichelle Hastings. The plight of our children are in our hands. And also the ability to help our adults rise with perspective is also in our hands. So we have married the two. We are on a mission to show how living in gratitude today can improve your mental health and your self-esteem so that you can create a life that you love to live. Here with us today is a very special woman, a woman that is no stranger to Baltimore and the DC metro area and other surrounding communities. Please join us as we introduce to you, we call her Lady Diva Coach, Pamela Reeves, for our warm welcome today. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Pam Reeves, and as a native and proud Baltimorean, it is my honor to welcome Rising with Perspective, Living in Gratitude today. You are a dynamic and diverse group that is unwavering in your commitment to enriching the lives of all people in every part of their lives, especially the underserved and the vulnerable. You understand the impact that societal maladies are having on all of us, and you are relentless in answering the call to action to enlighten and heal. Once again, welcome to Baltimore. We are a city that is ready to receive, embrace, and apply all that you have come to this platform to empower and to deposit in us.
Thank you, Pamela. I'm sure everyone feels so very welcome. I know I feel even more welcome to be here. Now, without further ado, for the moment that we all been waiting for, you that are watching by way of live stream, you that are at the site, why don't you give everyone on this platform a round of applause and give yourself a wonderful round of applause. Our production team today is being led by Miss Emerald Parker, veteran and also a leader inside of the Tampa Bay area and district. Come on and say, hey, Emerald. She is doing a great job on the backdrop. Our gratitude champion, Shakira Williams. She is hailing from Atlanta today, but she is holding it down. You have the amazing Lisa Alvarez inside of Davie, Florida. Raphael Walters inside of Davie, Florida. We thank you for holding it down. Pastor Natalie Green, Attorney Louis Feinstein. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you. From the Pentagon to Amazon, Michael Othello Gooden. You are all doing a great job on your watch. Pastor Natalie Green, coach, and that gets you unstuck. Miss Laveda Humphrey, our resident therapist, Georgia Bryce Hutchison. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you. We cannot thank you enough. And we are getting ready to turn it over to none other than the dynamic, the awesome, the inspirational. Yes, Rachel, thank you so much for being at the border. You are holding it down all the way over there in Houston. We have your guys, Ken Henry, Misa, we have Ken, and we have CJ. And now we're getting ready to turn it over into the hands of CJ. We call him Walker now. You'll find out why. But Mr. CJ Joseph, let us say yes and amen for such a time as this. Thank you.
Wow, 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 and wow again. Sister Michelle, thank you for that introduction. Sister Pam, thank you so much for that wonderful welcome. I am your moderator for Rise with Perspective, Living in Gratitude today. My name is CJ Joseph, as Sister Michelle alluded to. I am a SAG-AFTRA performer. I have a co-star role on CW's hit show, Walker, as Principal Haney. We all know why we're here today. We want to bring awareness, solutions, and everything that we can to help those who are in human trafficking. We have some dynamic and panelists with us today to bring light, to bring inspiration, to bring forth information that can help someone. So without further ado, I am going to introduce the panelists. They will speak a quick word, and then we will do the invocation, and then we'll really dive into everything. At the top, we have Miss Maya Rubin. She is the co-founder of Rise with Perspective, the Living in Gratitude Today portion. Her approach to gratitude is original, edgy, direct, and energizing. For 20 years, she's taught city high schoolers to tap into their gratitude gangster. What? She's teaching children the 3 R's and about mental health. Miss Maya, please.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Vismaya Rubin. I am a mental health advocate, founder of Living in Gratitude Today, co-founder of Rise with Perspective. A gratitude gangster is a person who is skilled in the art of appreciation, lives life to the fullest, and finds magic in life's challenges. Thank you so much for having us, CJ.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Maya. Next we have on deck is S. Monique Smith. She is known as the longest living Jane Doe, as she was abducted at the tender age of 1. S. Monique Smith survived decades of severe child abuse, and in 2011, she published her book titled, I Am the Ancestor. So if you have not got it, please pick it up. Basically, to tell her story. Monique is certainly a bright light who is providing inspirational sunshine to others. Monique?
Thank you guys so much. I am so honored that you guys have taken the opportunity to Rise with Perspectives and basically living in gratitude today. Today, when human trafficking is at an alarming rate. Who am I? I'm the survivor, an author, a director of a movie entitled The Longest Living Jane Doe. I'm also the founder of CAM, which is a community-based initiative that not only spreads awareness about missing children, it's human trafficking as well, but we also share information about the resources that can help survivors, that can help victims actually transition back into a world of normalcy after such a tragic situation. And we have grown just from Baltimore, Maryland, to the entire DMV area, which means that we saw how the heightened process became, and we really increased what we could do together in a volume such as what we're doing today.
Thank you so much, Monique. Next on deck, we have Ken Henry, a graduate of, and this blows my mind, there is a leadership academy on human trafficking, but he is a graduate of the National Human Trafficking Leadership Academy. Ken is fighting on the front line of human trafficking. Of the many roles that he has, he currently serves as the Human Trafficking Coalition and Expansion Manager for the United Against Human Trafficking in Houston, Texas. Ken's passion, his compassion, his energy, his excitement, his leadership in human trafficking, he is certainly making a difference in this space. Brother Ken.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And thanks for everyone. I just want to give a special shout out and just major gratitude for the entire Rise with Perspective team, with our stakeholders here on the ground, Ms. Monique Smith. You guys are doing a great job. Clergymen, Richard and our beautiful, sister who just spoke, Pam. I just thank you guys because, we could not make such a major impact without having you guys and Pastor Turner and these folks that are here on the ground. That really gives us insight. So it's just partnering, it's collaboration, it's national collaboration. That is what it takes. So I'm fired up to be here. I feel like you guys are my tribe. I feel like there's major just a wealth of knowledge, wealth of resources. And like Brother CJ said, there's what I love the most. There's nothing but love and compassion here. And that's what we need to end this thing. So thanks for having me. And I'm grateful to be here with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Next on deck is we have Roger DeHart. He is a Broward County bailiff. How he got involved in the human trafficking space is what he witnessed in courtrooms. And he's the founder of a nonprofit called First Stop, saving teens and others from predators. Folks, this brother has walked from Miami to the steps of the Capitol 4 years ago. So basically, this is his fourth year anniversary. Over 1,065 miles to bring awareness to human trafficking. We cannot appreciate you enough, Roger, for that long haul that you demonstrated. So with that being said, please speak a word.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. And I'm going to listen to the people on the panel. I feel so honored because we have some heroes on this panel. My purpose in life is to try to be whatever voice I can for those that's hurting, for those vulnerable, especially as a man. I try to come from a man's perspective and offer, like I said, being a voice and a protector. So whatever I can do to try to make a little difference, I'm totally down for. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next we have on deck is Becca T-Bond. She's a certified health, fitness, and life coach. She's the creator, you've seen it on TV, the 17-minute workout and the power bands. Using Becca's specialized design resistant bands, you can break free from which you resist that persists within you. Becca, please. And Becca, if you can unmute yourself, please.
I am so humbled and honored to be part of this group. This is the third time God has asked me to step up in this arena for child trafficking. And as a slow learner, I finally said, I hear you, I feel you. And the magnitude of the people that are surrounding this is helping me to rise up into my essence as well. So I am a newcomer on this whole journey. So I want to beckon to everybody else who is out there, who is a newcomer, who's listening to this, imploring you that we can all take steps to do something, to make a difference, to impact the lives of others. I hope to share with you during my conversation how 17 minutes can change a life. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. And just kind of veering off the topic just a little bit, they've already been acknowledged, but I would be remiss if I didn't. To Team E&G, Emerald and Ginger, thank you so much for what you're doing behind the scenes. Even though you can't be seen, you're controlling the scene. Thank you so much for that. Big time shout out, BTSO as I call it, big time shout out to Father Richard Meadows and his wonderful wife, Linda. They have been so gracious hosting us here in Baltimore, the Charm City. He will be the pastor of the Episcopal Church of St. Michael of All Angels. And basically, now, with that being said as well, with Jesus, we appreciate his parables, his teachings, and also his miracles, and of course, his crucifixion. But Jesus also broke bread. So with that being said, Father Meadows basically took us to Angie's Seafood last night, and we had to break bread because we have to eat and nourish our bodies as well. So shout out to Angie. Thank you so much for your graciousness on hosting us last night. We appreciate you so much. Next on deck, we have Susan Summons. She's was a National Coach of the Year. She's a former pro basketball player, a dynamic motivational speaker who was named 100 most influential sports educators in America. She's going to be our cleanup woman, folks, a keynote speaker, and will provide a very powerful and soul-stirring and soul-changing speech about modern slavery and waking up to humanity. Sister Susan.
Thank you, CJ. I'm honored always to be a part of such an amazing group of human beings that are focusing on changing lives. And we know nothing can be changed unless you decide to make that change. So I'll talk to you a little later, and I'm honored to hear from everyone on this panel. Rock.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Susan. And last but not least, we have Pastor Turner, approaching a year in September of being the shepherd at Empowerment Temple AME right here in the Charm City, Baltimore. Pastor R.A. Turner is a present age servant and speaks truth to power and he will provide our invocation. With that being said, Pastor Turner, please.
So delighted to be here discussing this very important topic and amongst people who I greatly respect and admire. Will you all please join me in prayer? Dear Lord, our Father, we are praying now for all of those who have been caught in this sex trafficking industry. We pray, God, for them. We pray that you protect them and keep them and deliver them. We pray, God, for those who are on this panel. We pray, Lord, for those who are watching, that they be inspired, that they be touched, that your word rings true and that your wisdom is ever present. In your name we pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Pastor Turner. All right, folks. Well, you know what we're here for, so we're just going to dive right into it. Since we in a host city, Baltimore, we're going to kick it off with someone who is holding it down as an ambassador for Rise with Perspective, Living in Gratitude today. So I want to kick it off with Monique. Monique, you have such a tremendous story in regards to child abuse, in regards to not knowing who you are. That's just incredible. Can you speak on your journey for a bit on how you've come to know who you are and how difficult that was?
Yes, it was a very trying journey, basically, and I've used my story as a platform to be able to show that, there are individuals that are out there that need help. All missing children are not dead. People forget about the missing milk carton kids. And just as fast as a child could be abducted and then forced into human trafficking, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years may pass And people just will assume that the individuals are deceased. Well, after 50 years, that's exactly what happened to me. Everyone just assumed that I was deceased. So back in 1968, I was abducted from my mother in another state, which means I was trafficked across a couple of states in the care of these individuals. And I shouldn't really say care, the horrific abuse that I endured mentally, physically, sexually over a long period of time. And then even though I escaped that to start fresh and to start new, just being manipulated and groomed into the life, which was just going from, as they indicate, from the fire to the from the pan to the fire. But again, God kept me straight. He kept telling me that there is more meant for you than what's actually out here. So I continued my journey. I wrote the book, I Am the Ancestor. Before I die, I must share my story. And that's just to tell people you're not who you were in your past. That's not who you are. God has something for you greater. And he spared me. He spared my life twice, near death, to tell me to actually lobby and campaign for other people. I did it for 20 years and had no clue. I was at Ancestors.com, 23andMe. I am listed on the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children as missing child number 120-1298. Now, there are over 490,000 children that go missing, and a large volume of them are trafficked. So we're not here just to talk about my story. It's what this organization, this Rise with Perspective, what are we doing today to actually stop and eradicate child abduction and human trafficking? The sex trade is increasing. It's $1 billion. $1 trillion industry. And again, if we're not looking at it and address it, this is not a foreign situation. It's not happening in another country. If you have a zip code, there's trafficking, and it's happening right here. I've been so blessed and fortunate to be with some alliances we've created over the years, and we're helping portals in the DMV area. That's from Virginia, DC, and Maryland. I am so proud of what Baltimore is doing, and then have you guys come in and actually see our work, but the work that you guys are doing as well, that's in Florida, that's in Texas. Do you see what we're about to do? You know, this is how we're going to create a greater platform to just elevate humanity again and get them involved in shutting down what's happening with trafficking.
Excellent, excellent. Now, Pastor Turner, when we had our first symposium in Houston, the kickoff city, we didn't have anyone there from the cloth represented. But now that we do, we wanted to pose a question, a generalized question about the church. In your perspective, what is the role of the church in regards to human trafficking as it relates to mental health?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for having me. I feel the role of the church should be a lot more than what it is, to be quite honest, and it's sometimes not as active as I would like for her to be. The church really does not talk a lot about sex, let alone human sex trafficking, despite the fact that it is a major issue, and it is our current day slavery, right? Women who are sold into sex slavery, they are slaves. And the Bible is very saturated with scripture about liberation and freeing people from yokes and bondages that have them bound. And you have people who are in bondage to lust and people who are actually in bondage to sex slavery. And so I wish we did a lot more. I'm learning a lot, even just today, from some of your panelists on ways we can be more proactive. And that's why I really encourage and hope to talk more with the previous sister who just spoke about things we can do better in Baltimore as a faith community, because these are our daughters, right? These are our sons. They are our future and they are our present at the same time. And so I think that we have done, outside of the prayer vigils when people go missing, when someone is found in the trash can or whatnot, we have obviously do funerals for them all the time, but we should be a lot more proactive, and that's what I hope to start doing from henceforth.
Pastor Turner, thank you so much. I know you have to go because you're a busy pastor. We appreciate what you do for the Baltimore community. So thank you, sir, and we will definitely be in touch.
All right, appreciate you.
Well, moving right along, Ms. Maya, being an educator, can you speak on how education can prevent, curb human trafficking, and what the role of education plays on that?
Yes. So one of the things I'll share with you is when I was teaching, I had my students keeping gratitude charts. And they're actually the people who came up with the term gratitude gangsters. And it's important to understand that, because often when I say to somebody, I call myself a gratitude gangster, their first reaction is, oh no, that's horrible. We can't say that. That's not a nice word. We don't want to affiliate with gangsters. So let me give you a brief background as to how that started, and then I'll get to your question. So I had my students, 9th and 10th graders, who basically think they know everything. I had them in the beginning of the year. I said, we're going to start keeping gratitude charts. They looked at me like I had lost my mind. What do you mean? I don't have anything to be grateful for. She's crazy. She doesn't know what she's talking about. You don't know my life. There's nothing going on. All right, great. So they were constantly reminded, and I think that's part of the important part, is the consistency. Every day, hey, what are you grateful for? Hey, did you put something on your gratitude practice? Fast forward a few months, what I started to notice is they would come up to me. They were excited. Here's my gratitude chart, miss. Here's my gratitude chart. They would leave me little notes. Do you know that, what I've realized is that I spend so much time with my family. Do you realize that what I've learned is, my brother and I've noticed we haven't been arguing as much. What I started to see is that when I get upset, I realize that if I do something nice for somebody else, that lifts me up. So they started to notice things on their own. So what started to happen is that their paradigm of their life shifted, nothing else. Right. It was just the lens they saw their world. So when we teach these kind of skills in schools, and we make them just as important as some of the other skills that we teach, we're giving our children a safe place, a safe space. And the way that I teach gratitude is I always tell people to look at their gratitude wins. And one of the components of gratitude wins is, what did I do for myself? So the W is who or what made a difference for me. I is what did I do for myself, for others? And that's a great motivational piece. That's a great piece to build self-esteem, to boost self-esteem, especially when we write down our gratitude wins, because the more we start to see the things that we do that are well, the more we start to change our perceptions even of ourselves. N stands for how do I nourish my mind, my body, my spirit. And S is for what made me laugh or smile till my sides hurt. So fast forward, we're now in April, and I posed the question. We had just read a story about 2 gang leaders. They were in gangs, they got out of gangs, and I said to my students, we had them sitting in a circle, and I said, why would anyone want to get in a gang? And I knew I was opening up Pandora's box, so to speak. Right. And Alex looked at me and he's like, miss, we're gangsters. And I'm like, oh Lord, what did I just do? He says, we're gratitude gangsters. He's like, we walk around and we tell people, I like your shoes, I like your hat. He's like, miss, since I've been keeping gratitude charts, I've been on Instagram helping people, supporting people. And in that moment, what I realized is that they understood the power of this simple, persistent practice. Mm-hmm. Because gratitude is really like CPR. And when we're in the middle of a crisis, if we learn to compartmentalize that crisis, put it in a box, and I don't mean put it in a box and forget about it, but put it in a box and ask yourself a question. Is my life really horrible, or is it this situation is really horrible? And when we start to ask those questions, what we notice is often when we're in the middle of something, when we're stuck in the middle, oh, everything is horrible, life is horrible, this is horrible. But no, really, it's that one issue. And if we can find a way to put it in that little box for a moment, we free ourselves so that we can start to find answers and ask the right questions.
Exactly.
So And then we start to ask, what are my gratitude wins?
Okay, and that was great, because most people don't realize if you could just be grateful for one little thing a day, it really will shift your mindset. Now, in regards to education, the educational system, how can education play a role, not only from the high school level, but even at the elementary level? How can education play a role in preventing and perhaps curbing trafficking?
I think part of it is introducing soft skills, like communication skills, like I said about gratitude. Maybe you don't talk about gratitude, but self-esteem and motivation. But the key is not going in and doing a one and done. So oftentimes people go into schools and they go, yay, here's a program. Let me tell you, don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Don't do this. This is bad. Do this. This is great. And then we never hear from them again. So if you want things to work in the school system and we want things to work with our children, we need the consistency. So teaching about communication and self-esteem building, team building. How do I get along with others? How do I express myself? The ability to express myself, that it's okay to feel things, that we don't have to, be like everybody we see on social media. Those kind of conversations in schools, and I understand teachers are overwhelmed, but those kind of conversations in schools really not only open the door to stopping human trafficking, to stopping addiction, to stopping abuse, but they open up pathways where our children are then open and able to receive the information that the brilliant teachers have to share.
Right. Excellent. Wow. Ken, now you basically stated that you didn't find human trafficking. Human trafficking actually found you. I stated at the top that I was doing your introduction. I was just really blown away that there is an academy for human trafficking, and not just an academy, but a federally funded academy. Can you speak on how that academy works and who can actually attend the academy?
Yes, a great question. So it's interesting because we're the first class, meaning we're the testers. And so we help work out all the kinks, and they've grown since then, which is great, but it was a wonderful experience. So this is put on and funded by some of our biggest funders here nationally. And the whole concept behind the academy is that, which I thought in my mind, and I still think it's such a beautiful thing to see, because basically the government was saying, hey, we realize we don't have a grip on this thing. We don't really understand. We need to get what we call experts in a room together, and not just one time, but we need to have them bond and have masterminds and think tanks consistently. And you guys are going to come together. And what that means is survivors, male and female, survivors of trafficking, both labor and sex, immigration workers, attorneys, law enforcement, service providers. And you're put together to come up with recommendations for the government so they'll know where to start, putting money reserves, where to, put other resources in place. And so this has been going on, and it's amazing because you also have a leadership component. So not only are you learning, bringing your expertise together from everyone and learning from each other, you're also being taught with CORO. CORO is a national fellows program, leadership programs, and you become a fellow after that as well, because so it's a phenomenal program. And what they do, who can become, normally it is if you have to be a grantee of one of the grantors. Okay. And they choose from within that network, but it's national. So if you already have been awarded a grant from one of them, they'll choose in that court, but you have to submit your application. You can nominate folks, which is a big deal. You can nominate someone, for the academy as well, and then they will research them. But amazing program, and so many of us are still so connected. And that was 2017. Some are on the U.S. Advisory, Human Trafficking Advisory, just out there doing some great work, and we're so connected. It's like a fraternity, because I am the one, probably the greatest, Kappa Alpha Psi, just a plug. But it's like that network where you stay and you take care of one another, and I love that. So and we're all over the United States, which is wonderful. So.
Well, folks, we now know we have a man with a cane on the panel. Okay. Brother Roger, we know we talked about your story of walking 1,065 miles from my home state, Florida, to Washington, D.C. As a courtroom bailiff, what are some signs that someone can see, some warning signs that of a potential victim that could be trafficked or it could be in the midst of being trafficked? What are some simple, subtle warning signs that someone can actually pick up on?
I think for me, I've learned, especially from talking with, I have some of my best friends are survivors of human trafficking. You know, and each person is different. Each person, they've experienced different, situations. And so with that, a few signs I've learned are isolation. That's one. You got, some physical damage. You have change of mood, change of attitude. Being withdrawn. You have where sometimes the materialistic things. All of a sudden they're starting to acquire different things, and so but working as a bailiff, it's kind of hard to kind of see that. You know what I'm saying? When the cases come in my courtroom, it's mainly because someone's about to get prosecuted, and so I don't see what goes on before then. So that's what I'm saying. Talking to survivors and learning from them. That's how I learn, and that's how I know the certain signs to look for.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Becca, did you have a question, Roger?
No, I wanted to add, if I could, to that question that you asked. So, there are many red flags, but, just some of those, you can look at as far as someone who is not in control of their own personal items, like identification. They can't control, money. If you're talking about students, here's where someone like Ms. Maya comes in, because if a student is missing school often, if a student is showing up sleeping, like fatigued a lot, because sometimes they're forced to go and work in the morning or early, late nights. If you're in the medical field and someone is not allowing the patient herself as an adult or a teenager to even speak, to be alone with the doctors and nurses, to answer any questions. Those are great signs. So it's not always that it's going to be this, someone is, physically, beaten or whatever. It's more of a mental and emotional, it's like psychological type of control and bondage. So looking beneath the surface. And then sometimes people are some of your star athletes. We have stories from survivors. I just had, we had one speak at a coalition, and this person shared how they were honor student. They were one of the top athletes. They were loved by the school, loved by the community, and they've been hiding all those years of that abuse that was happening to them. Wow. And that was familiar trafficking, being trafficked by their own family member. So the thing is to really to see people. I know we're all busy, but to try to look beneath the surface, to take time, look in the eyes. Become a safe place, create a safe place wherever. You can do that in the grocery store. You can do that in the movie theater. You can do that at work. And, if you're a teacher at the school, just be a safe place and take time. I know we're so busy and we have agendas and all that, but when we are with folks, us in this movement, is very imperative that we take time and try to create space and be present, because you never know what opportunity, how you've been positioned to help someone. You may just, and again, we know it's cliche. We say it's better to say something and be wrong than to say nothing, right? And be right. But that is still true. Very, very true. If you suspect something, we have seen trafficking cases that have been, really uncovered in airlines, just because a stewardess took a class and, felt something wasn't right and stepped in and did something. And actually it was exactly what she thought it was. But we've also seen where it wasn't a recent case, and the parents were upset because she just thought that was but guess what, if I could talk to that parent who was upset, I'd say you should be thanking her, because if this was a true case and your child was being trafficked, you would want her to do the same thing. So we don't want to discourage people and get upset because they're stepping in. We just say thank you, you're wrong here. But we thank you for stepping up, because you may be right for someone else. So just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Becca, the fitness queen, Most people don't think about how fitness can actually play a huge role in this discussion. But talk to us how fitness can play a role in the healing recovery of a person that has been rescued from human trafficking.
Thank you. Well, first, I want to say that fitness has played a huge role in my life. I guess we teach that which we learn. I was born with 3 chronic health challenges, in and out of hospitals, missed 20% of my elementary school life, was the comeback kid, and fitness, being involved in sports, being involved in a scheduled, organized community, I think is what kept me out of trouble. But I didn't realize it even until my older years, where my self-esteem from not being part of and feeling like I fit in. So as a fitness coach for 37 years, I've touched over 10,000 lives. And what I've seen consistently is how when somebody stays consistent, that they themselves feel stronger, not just in their body, but in their mind-body connection. I created a lifestyle transformation code, which allows people to close their gaps, see where they are and where they want to be so that they can get to where they want in life. This calling to be part of this movement, this team, is such an honor. And I thought, how can I make a difference? Truly, listening to some of the stories that are being sung to us are mind-boggling. But I can see strongly and easily and clearly how the effectiveness of my program, the simplicity of my program can help. So I want to share this with you. Whether you're engaged in fitness or take a backseat to the movement, I think we can all agree that science shows that there is a direct correlation to the benefits of exercise in your physical health, including reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, managing blood and insulin levels, keeping our mind sharper, promoting healthier weight, and the most important, better posture improves individuals' outlook and confidence. So today I want to address these 2 things. The first being the critical aspect of how exercise improves individual outlook and confidence, encourages the development of what I consider self-leadership, that mind-mental muscle.
Sure.
And this is where desire, determination, and discipline are born. So this particular muscle can be the saving grace, especially during hard-pressed times. It's kind of like some of the other things that everybody has talked about. When you have that thing to fall back on, you're more apt in the situation to be stronger in the situation. Unfortunately, there are many that are not given this opportunity. And so I feel with this platform that we are creating, we are going towards a bigger and grander scheme. And when I use the word scheme, modality, to create opportunities to touch the lives of people that are in minority, more trafficked areas.
Understood.
And to create something for them. My second conversation is of Darwin's survival of the fittest philosophy and how that plays on our society as a whole, specifically for those who are targeted during trafficking. According to a Harvard study, exercise not only helps you live longer, it helps you live better. There's countless scientific studies that prove and show that fitness programming can have a dynamic effect and encourage healthier behaviors and patterns, healthier lifestyles in neighborhoods, and identify and address the vulnerabilities that come about. So my goal is to create and allow this whole union from this mind-body connection using the 17-minute fitness program and put these in the hands of people that are in trafficked areas, and in the midst of all the coaching, show how creating a stronger body-mind connection can do 5 things. And I know we need to bring this together. Again, building the strong.
I'll tell you what, Becca, just a tab on that just really quickly, but we're going to come back to that one. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Excellent. Monique, since you have boots on the ground here in Baltimore, what is the city of Baltimore doing to help victims of human sex trafficking, and what programs are accessible to those who need help?
Yep. Baltimore City has taken an aggressive approach by making sure we had things in place. I can go as far as the Baltimore City consent decree that everyone knows about across the country is actually assessing and evaluating the police officers and how to respond to a missing person. And again, we know a high percentage of individuals that are trafficked are often reported missing. That's huge. That is huge, because normally there's a 24-hour or 48-hour wait before a report is taken. Like, time is of the essence. Within 2 hours of abduction, an individual is usually physically abused, mentally abused, physically abused, and or murdered. So that is great strive. The state of Maryland just provided the proclamation for Missing Children's Day. And that was an amazing process. It took like over 4 years for that to happen. And then ending child marriages, where, again, somebody who could be with child at the age of 15, you're forced to marry. Maryland or Baltimore was the hub for individuals that could bring somebody. They were 30, they were 40-year-old men bringing young girls here and not giving them an opportunity to speak for themselves later on. That's definitely something we saw that was a problem in the issue and how we fixed it. Now, the boots on the ground is the street outreach. We're reaching people, a population of people in abandoned homes that are late at night that really need help. They need to know the resources out there. They want to be loved on and poured into, maybe because they made the wrong decision in life or were forced to make those types of services to people. And with that, it helps them transition out of that lifestyle into a way of normalcy. And that's what we're asking. I heard you ask the question to Pastor Turner earlier about the role of the churches. Is that will be a phenomenal thing right now. The churches help homelessness by feeding the homeless. So if you have a trafficked individual and may need to have a drop-in center just to take a bath, maybe to use the telephone to call a loved one. Maybe it's their time if they want to say, I want to get out of this life. The pimp or the John is holding me captivity just long enough to get out here and give them money. We can change all of that collectively. And that was a powerful question that this panel asked today. And hopefully it's something that will go across the country.
Monique, that makes a big difference. I know we talked about that. I brought up that question last night during our feast, and how the church can play a role in regards to, yes, prayer is great, but we also we are his eyes, his feet, his ears, his hands. Yes. So we are his boots on the ground, quintessentially. So the church does need to, in my personal opinion, step up a little bit. But there's other deeper conversation. We won't dive into that today, but we'll get to that. Ken, I wanted you to speak on. There are, unfortunately, a multiple level of layers of human trafficking, human sex trafficking, labor, and what have you. And I'm coming to learn of these things. So I want to speak to you as an expert. We talked about for the lack of a better word, genres of human trafficking that vary from city to city. In regards to, does one city have more of a problem because of where it's located, like a port, or does another city have more of a problem where it's located, like Las Vegas? So can you speak on the different layers of human trafficking depending upon where they are, where it occurs in a city across the country?
Awesome. Great question. So yes, it does matter. Things are different. I spent about 10 years in Los Angeles working in the space, which is a major port city, which is an international city, international airports, and working with clients and survivors from all over. It is a little different. And also you figure that out working with law enforcement too. But any port city, so you said that correctly, any port city, international city is going to be high target. just because of the different opportunities to bring someone in here, even internationally, not even just domestically. So you're going to have that. What we are seeing, though, thank goodness, because of all the great work that so many of our soldiers in HT, our champions, like many of you guys on the screen, are doing and bringing awareness and putting on events and getting volunteers to come, we're growing. And law enforcement across the nation is starting to slowly work closely on side of folks. Even law enforcement is starting to have vice units, specifically that are HT focused. And so what's happening is these are happening in your major cities. So traffickers are following that because they're seeing the arrests that are happening and things like that, and laws and bills that are getting pushed. So they'll move to a little bit more rural areas in some of these states, especially Midwest, but even states like California. There's certain places of, in Central California that they'll go where there's hardly no resources, right? So it is different, but the goal is, to continue to do what we're doing because we know it's working, to join forces with others nationally, to have our alliance together, be like our shirt, that's why we named our organization United Against Human Trafficking, uniting with folks that hearts are really in it, like your soldiers here in Baltimore, and working together, because that is how we know we can, like, for instance, Texas, Houston has a huge issue there as well, sort of like Los Angeles, Atlanta, Baltimore. But, Texas passed a law in September of last year that made it a felony. So anyone caught buying sex, because they're serious about going after the demand, because we know that's really what it's all about, and as we shared in our brainstorm meeting last night, I think Sister Monique brought it up, even gangs, have been leaving the drug game, because I can sell drugs one time, but I can sell a person multiple times. And once I control them psychologically, they'll go to jail. They'll never say anything about me. And I'm still out here working, and I'm waiting for her or him to get out to put them back on the streets or whatever, because, so it does matter. But the education, the awareness is the key. That's the answer. That's the solution. Not stopping talking about it, kicking down doors in a loving, respectful way if you have to. And that includes the church. And so I will tell you, there is a movement happening. I encourage you guys with the church, because there's a big faith base out of California that's gone national now. And then we also started the Black faith base that's now national, that started in California. And it's just churches and clergymen and church leaders coming together. And I have two good friends, Dr. Sandra Morgan, who's an international ambassador for HT, and then Susan Patterson. They both wrote books recently, and one is about over 100 ways specifically that the church can help. They're both focused on the church. And then Dr. Morgan's book is What Can Churches Do to End Human Trafficking? So there's resources. The church is definitely waking up. I want to encourage you guys. They're mobilizing and finally getting that education that they need. But, the thing is them still allowing them to be the church, right? And be up their power and stay in their lane with helping us. So, yeah.
Wow. So essentially there's a quote unquote Bible for churches to use if they are really want to play a role in human trafficking. There are resources that the church can actually look at. Okay. Roger, now during your walk, your 1,065-mile walk, you actually encountered a special person, and that particular person you met back up with in Texas when we had our symposium in Houston. Can you speak on the program that kind of was birthed out of that walk?
Sure. I have a couple stories, so I'm trying to filter out which one.
Well, the one you actually had taken a picture with this young lady. You met her on the road, and then 4 years later, you was able to reconnect with her, if I'm not mistaken. And there was some type of award that was given.
Yes. My friend Carla Solomon.
Yes.
On my walk, her friend. I was walking through Wilmington, North Carolina, and there was a single mom. She pulled me over. And she had her two daughters in the car. Scarlett was 4 at the time, and her daughter Janelle was, I believe, 8. And the mom with this, she gave me Gatorade. She wanted to share with me how, she wants to really, protect her kids and things like that. And to the point of tears. She was that super nurturing mom. Right. And so About an hour later, they found me again in northern Wilmington, you know, which I still have a note from her 4-year-old daughter that says, thank you for walking for me, Mr. Roger. Her name is Scarlett. You know, and that really moved me to tears, you know. And so, you know, and as she gave me the note, I looked in her eyes, and what I saw was this little girl is telling me that I trust you, that I trust you to protect me. You know, that I trust you to not do anything wrong to me. You know what I mean? And so all these emotions really, really, really moved me. And so there's an award I give every year. This is the second year. It's called the Scarlet Appreciation Award. I named it after her. Wow. This is a sign. Please be praying, because I'm trying to reach Scarlett and her mom. You know, because I think it'll make her day that if she understands there's an award named after her. You know what I mean? So I'm reaching out to people in Wilmington trying to get her. You know what I mean? So so this past last month, there was a survivor. Her name is Carla Solomon. We're great friends. She lives in Texas. And I heard her story a couple years ago, and it's one of those stories that just stays with you, you know. And so I told myself, if I ever got a chance to meet Carla, I would love to give her the Scarlet Appreciation Award. So I reached out to Carla, and you know, last month she invited me, because I told her, invite me to an event that you want me to present the award to. So it was one of the most moving times of my life, because again, me as a man presenting an award to a hero, it meant the world to me, you know?
Yes. Wow, man. Listen, Roger, man, you're tugging on the heartstrings here, man.
So the Scarlet.
Right. Well, wow.
So please be praying, and if you have any connections in Wilmington, because I really love Scarlett. She's probably 8 now. So if you have any connections, the only thing I know, her first name is Scarlett, and she lives in Wilmington. So if anyone has any connections in Wilmington, I'll welcome it.
You know what? The bigger our platform grows, the more people we're going to touch. At some point, that will be a connection made. Monique, back to the ambassador that we have here, the grounds, the boots on the grounds. And now, because of you are the longest living Jane Doe, and you went through the process of trying to, it sounds crazy, but trying to find yourself, find who you are. What is a resource or resources that someone who may be in a situation like you, but they can utilize to, quote unquote, find themselves and figure out where they came from?
Yeah. So I was listed again on an unidentified registry. It's called Name Us, NAUS, Name Us. Usually it's a registry for victims their bodies are not claimed from a crime scene, or a homeless individual found under the bench or in an abandonmenium. Wow. Also the National Center of Missing for the Children, Black and Missing, the DNA with 23andMe and Ancestors.com. You know, there are portals popping up all over the place. So the goal is to make sure that you utilize every resource that's available. And this is great that what we're doing today with Rise is that we're showing people, once you actually apply yourself to resources that are being made available to you, to use them all. And that's what happened with me. And in my case, I was able to, no one was in Ancestors.com, which is really odd. And no one was in 23andMe. And so it was really difficult, but I was so fortunate enough to find a facial recognition through CC Moore with Nightline News and the DNA detective team. And that's how we were connected. And there were 7 surviving sisters from my abduction in 1968. And it was just a beautiful thing to have that reunion. And I'm still, as of today, working with law enforcement agencies and other state officials to actually have my true identity, date of birth, and age back, like living with no passport, living with no birth certificate. It has been a huge struggle, but I was blessed in so many other ways. And this is why I give back, to make sure that here in Baltimore, here in Maryland, the average age of an individual being abducted and or trafficked is between 12 and 14. That's male or female. And you lose your identity. And I had a chance to say, you know what? God spared me. I'm the ancestor. Regardless of my past, I can take, control of my life today. But then to be able to take control, live a normal life, and then be able to pour back into my community. I'm probably in well over 25 years, and I'm very proud of that. And I am so looking forward to what Rise is doing, like living with this gratitude. That's how I've always lived. And to talk to pastors today, and I think I congratulated UCC last night and Ken. You don't see a lot of men stepping up. And usually it's the John, it's the pimp, and it's the stereotype that men don't get involved. They don't want to talk about, that tough talk about human trafficking and prostitution and, sex trafficking with children. I applaud you for taking such a strive, and so it Ken as well, for doing this, because the more men see it, not saying women are not, predators as well, but the more men see it, that's how we stop the demand, stop the John, stop the hurt. Kudos to you both guys.
Thank you. Especially Ken, because he's on the front line and all that he does. If you are joining us live here on Facebook, we are Rise with Perspective, living in gratitude today. Where do we go from here? What do we do now in regards to human trafficking and also the mental health that relates to human trafficking? Becca, please give us your 5 points for us, please. Becca, can you unmute yourself, please?
This is my first time doing Zoom. Not? Okay, so Rise in Perspective, Living in Gratitude, we're looking at both the grassroots workshop, getting down in the trenches, as well as providing virtual access. And so creating consistency using positive habits, flooding the body with dopamine, adrenaline, norepinephrine through the fitness, causing a happier outlook and perspective. Bodily healing, the strength of survivors gaining reentrance and giving them the authority over their body, releasing the shame, pain, resentment, and blame game that has been going on for them, as well as prevention from predators, as I talked about, giving the individuals a stronger foothold on themselves, creating a stronger interface with them with social interaction, not putting them by themselves, creating a stronger level of self-love. My goal today, I hope, has come across that it is clearly and indisputably the connection between mind and body, creating an affordable, giving my affordable, transportable fitness platform to with utilizing trauma informed coaches, providing accessible, doable, science-based measures, changing the inner chemistry, changing the development of inner peace, fortifying the body, mind, muscle resiliency, and actively strengthening the physical body, supporting the whole person is the goal that I am here to share.
Perfect. You actually just touched on something that I am going to chat with Ken on. We kicked off Rise with Perspective, living with gratitude today in the city. Sister Noshelle was spoke to by the Spirit to have that the kickoff city. And now we're in Baltimore. There will be other mini sessions, but come October 15th in Central Park, there will be a huge event that we will converge upon that great land of New York City with this platform. So be on the lookout and tune with that. For more information concerning Rise with Perspective, email risewithperspective@gmail.com, your information, your name and things of that nature, and we will definitely be in touch with you. Ken, Becca just actually touched on something that this is divine. The next question that I have for you, during dinner last night, and I had to ask you again, what was that word? And it was trauma informed. And she just brought that up. And that was my question to you. You mentioned how law enforcement needs to be trauma informed. And there was a story that you told that one particular person who had been trafficked basically just sloughed off every law enforcement officer and quite frankly cursed them out until she met that one that was trauma informed. What is trauma informed? and how it can play a role in a person who's been trafficked?
Thank you. A very, very good question. So, this title is called "The Effects of Sex Trafficking on Mental Health," right? And so we all could experience trauma. Every human being experiences trauma in some type of way. So it's not just, veterans, we would hear that a lot, but we wouldn't talk about the folks that are going through being reared in, very verbally or physically abusive environments, very hostile environments, very hostile communities where you're just trying to go to the store, get to school, back and forth every day safely. There's trauma that is possible trauma every single day of our life. So when it comes down to human trafficking, a person that's been trafficked, and you have labor trauma. There's different traumas that happen in sex. One person being traumatized doesn't mean everybody is going to experience the same. Everyone's going to heal the same. That individual stories matter, but there is a method. And survivor and trauma are something that we need to understand, like the typical things as we talk to experts, the true experts that have this lived experience of being trafficked will tell you the different things. So it can be as simple as environment, where you're located at for your services, what type of neighborhood is it in, right? And don't think, oh, well, let's get this beautiful, safe neighborhood that's still very unrelatable to them, because that could also, because a lot of times they were trafficked around those areas, or it was those type of buyers that were paying for them. Understanding when they come into your office setting, what does that look like? What type of staff do you have, right? That's when you get in a lot of cultural competency type things as well. How do they respond to traumatic behavior of, being irritated easily, being disrespectful to you, because people have lied to them and taken advantage of them all their life. People have played nice. This is how most of them got put into this, because someone, I'm going to help you. Are you being the savior? Are you empowering them? Are you listening? So there's tons of classes and trainings all the time that goes on Trauma Informed and Survivor Informed. And the cool thing about it is it's constantly evolving. So as we're learning and getting more information, we're changing it. So it's the one thing I love about the HT movement is we're not just sitting here recycling, and folks are making sure. So we're learning every day from young survivors. We're learning from older survivors, from male survivors, even to what they want to be called. Men didn't want, women were wearing survivors with a badge of honor, or overcomers. You'll hear that. Men they did not want any of those because they felt defeated. So they wanted thriver. They liked that. So it just really depends. It's all about listening. And one survivor may, one setting works for them, the other one doesn't. So it's really being important. In law enforcement, the key to law enforcement, because they're like those first responders sometimes. They're the ones that are right there when these busts are made and these things are made. So it's very imperative for them to understand that too, so that they don't do this poly-victimization that happens a lot, this reoccurrence of trauma, right? When I'm already being put down and psychologically beaten down, I'm judged by the community that doesn't understand human trafficking. So I'm trash, I'm this, I should be ashamed of myself and everything else that goes with that. Then this trafficker is further reinforcing that, reminding me daily by physically beating me, by doing things to just really break me down and break my spirit to where I can, and I'm probably just using drugs to numb out. And he's providing me with that so he can control me, or she can control me. And now I get law enforcement, who I was already afraid to run to, because I know what they're making me do is illegal. And I know they don't like me. This is the message I've been getting. Yeah. So we're saying, and that's why it's important for vice units to be like HT vice units, whether sheriff department, with the PDs, to be trauma informed, so they have the right ones to go out. And what's cool that's happening too, and very important, is that they're partnering. They understand the importance of partnering with nonprofits that do have this, because again, we need to respect law enforcement. And this is what I tell a lot of people on our side. They didn't sign up to be therapists and psychologists and social workers. They came to protect and serve. And so what they're being inundated with is the opposite from us. They're being inundated with, they're guilty before being innocent, because they could have a gun. They can do, I need to protect myself. We are the opposite. You're innocent until guilty. So we have to work together. So in these things, and there's different terms we'll call it, but when they go together on these different activities, when there's a tip on a possible house or something, or something's going on where they may be trafficking, they'll call certain people in the network. Like we do it in United Against Human Trafficking. Our coalition works very closely with law enforcement there. And, you have to be a part of our coalition for law enforcement to even work with you, because we've already vetted everybody. And they'll call folks that does these direct services so that when this arrest is made and this apprehension happens, they're able to give those persons being victimized right over to us, and they handle the traffickers. But now we have groups like my good friend in Houston who has demand disruption, where they strictly go after demand. So they come on the scene and the buyers get given to them. And so this is really great united effort with everybody working in their expertise. But the beautiful thing is the survivor is not re-traumatized because everybody is trauma informed and survivor informed. So it's a beautiful marriage.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to unpack. I mean, there are some questions that kind of are created in my mind just with that information, because you have a wealth of information. But we are kind of winding down. But I wanted to touch on really quickly, Monique. You basically informed me of some information last night when I left my phone in your vehicle. Speaking of strip clubs, gentlemen's clubs, the other names, how does those establishments play a role in human sex trafficking?
Well, you know, it's a breathing ground, and it's really not a great thing. We know that we just started having new casinos built in our city. Human trafficking definitely was going to increase. Anywhere there's an opportunity for large gatherings, celebrations, we're talking the racetracks, the Super Bowls, which is well known for high increased volumes of trafficking that actually goes on. It's really something that we need to focus and pay attention on. Of course, the owners are really not going to always do what they should do. If you get an individual coming looking for employment at a bar, are you making sure that they gave you the right identity? You know, they could have given you false identity so they could actually serve in the wrong capacity. It's really sad. Fortunate again for what we're doing as far as the awareness. The more we have these tough conversations, you know, men are really looking at themselves to say, you know what, I'm 40, I'm 50, but thinking back now, you know, my early 20s and my early 30s, you know, I may have been in a strip club, you know, I may have been in Thailand, and, you know, the girl looked to me, you know, that she was 18 or 21, but now that you're talking to me and I look in the eyes of that individuals that were manipulated, our most vulnerable, and now they know that they were underage, they were minors, they were victims. And it's really sad. Here in Baltimore, the average age, again, as I shared before, is between 12 and 14. What I'm loving about Rise is that we're all talking, people are from Florida, Texas, Maryland. Well, within 2 hours of an abduction and or traffic, you're in another state. But so that victim now has an increased chance of being rescued, and resources are right in front of them to be able to help them get back home, to get back on the right track, to get counsel that they need. That transition into normalcy because of the wrong choice that was made, you know, a quick decision, or being forced and coerced into that. But yes, I do believe that the strip clubs or the bars, you know, the social industry, the entertaining industry needs a little bit more. How many times did we hear about the rapping industry with these young girls, you know, that were minors, you know, 14, 15, 16, that were dancers, may not have had a chaperone or a loved one go with them. So because the message is really getting out there, it's called social responsibility. You can actually be proud to say, hey, I am an owner of an establishment that what I feel that we're monitoring human trafficking. Here's the 1-800 number. Here are other resources, and we're here to stop it from happening.
Oh, wow. Because that can be a breeding ground, as you mentioned. Before we actually bring on our cleanup woman, the phenomenal Susan Summons, I want to quickly have you all just give a really quick closeout statement. I appreciate you all so much in what you bring, the wealth of knowledge that you bring, in your expertise and your passion. So Ms. Maya, if you can unmute and just really quickly, just a real quick closeout from you.
Gratitude is a muscle that, when used properly or consistently, can actually change the neural pathways in your brain so that you experience more joy, more love, more connections with the people around you, and fall deeply and madly in love with yourself.
Beautiful. Roger. Roger, you're muted, sir.
Sorry about that. Okay. I leave you everyone with one phrase, and I have to often remind myself of this: you are not your mistake.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Becker.
Building your fitness muscle will engage your mind muscle, and that will keep you in a space and place that will give you self-respect, self-leadership, and help you hone into a stronger walk.
Thank you. Ken.
Yes, sir. I just want to make it clear to everyone who's with us, joining us live streaming, that Rise with Perspective, with Gratitude, living in gratitude, is literally about coming to cities, bringing awareness, but finding stakeholders in those cities to leave you with resources to where you can. So we are uniting against human trafficking for the sake of leaving your area better. So I want you to understand that that's who we are as Rise with Perspective.
Thank you, Ken. And Monique?
You know, I'm so proud to say that we have flooded the airwaves now with an abundance of awareness, the knowledge, the education. Yet we're used to that hashtag, see something, say someone. But at this stage of the game, now that we have the resources and we're building, creating new laws, we can actually see something and save someone. Please take some of this knowledge and information, partner, join, share the information out, and be ready that in the event that you're in a position to help someone, that you can.
Thank you so much. Now, to close us out, we have the phenomenal Susan Summons, who is, she's a Hall of Famer. So Susan, please come aboard and close us out with your information you have.
CJ, the panel, rise in gratitude, rise in perspective, rise in gratitude as you're living today. That's what we're doing on this panel. We're engaging everyone that's listening, that's watching from abroad, wherever you're at. You're in your office, you're in your car, you're on your phone, you're in the hotel room, you're at the restaurant, you're at the bus stop, you're at the train stop, wherever you're at. We need you to be a part of this movement, to save lives, to save children. It's about you. I wrote something very special. It's called Save the Children, Listen to Their Silence. I hope you enjoy this. You're listening. Baltimore, welcome to the Rise.
Yes.
This is supposed to be America the Beautiful. But there's no beauty when our children are killed senselessly right here on US soil. And our youth are being preyed upon, lured into a human trafficking. Who are we as a people? Who are we as a community? Who are we as a nation? What are we doing? We are facing one of the worst pandemics the world has seen in decades, the loss of children. Helen Keller states, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much more. Humanity, wake up. Don't leave the children alone. We must be the mental armor for the youth. We must educate, facilitate, and recognize the warning signs that many of the panel talked about today, and our Monique and Kenny flavored. The warning signs that are thrust in our faces every day of exploitation and victimization. Save the children. Listen to the silence. Rise in action to stop this insanity. The loss of children. In the minds of our youth, there is a hidden curriculum of cries that you later hear in breaking news streaming across your television. Another mass shooting, an Amber Alert, another missing child, lost to sex trafficking ring, lawmakers, policy shakers. Turn your lights on, turn your volume up loud so everyone can see and hear the predators that lurk and the mental anguish that destroys. We must rise with perspective and gratitude in living today to improve the resources for mental illness, a trigger of sort that sends a kid's mindset into a mind shift and over the edge. Maya Angelou states, you might face many defeats in life, but you never let yourself be defeated. We must fight for the children not to be defeated. Oprah Winfrey says we must become what we believe. As parents, educators, CEOs, presidents, you have the power to create a stronger foundation to safeguard and enrich a child's life with spiritual, physical, environmental, social, love, and emotional good health. Save the children. Listen to the quiet. In the cries for help. Listen to their silence. Rise to protect their innocence. Be the beacon of light that shines bright and changes the impact that mental wellness and its role of human trafficking is having on the youth in this world. James Baldwin states, not everything can be changed, but nothing can be changed until you face it. And that's what RISE is doing. Face it. America the Beautiful, put your superhero cape on together. Let us make a difference for the children. Say no to gun violence. Say no to sex trafficking. Say yes to education. Say yes to mental wellness. Say yes to life. We must win the battle. We cannot give up. We cannot give in. As a nation, we are built to win. Thank you. We all rise in gratitude. I'm grateful.
The first time I heard you speak, I said, wow. I say again, but this time, I say, wow. Susan, thank you so much for what you do, for your life work, for what you bring, which is so valuable to RISE with Perspective Living in Gratitude today. We appreciate you so much from joining us and carving just a bit of time out of your Hall of Fame weekend schedule to grace us with your presence. We so much appreciate you. Well, we are preparing to close out this live session. Although we have converged on the Charm City because of COVID, alliteration, I love it. We had to go in this live space. It was not the way we wanted to do this. However, we wanted to press forward and continue the work that was assigned to us. So with that being said, one of the things we're going to close out with is Adrian Muldrow, who actually happens to be Sister Nichelle's cousin. He went from an orange jumpsuit and traded places with a black bow tie. Excuse or circumstance. The roots of his book sprouted from a desire to give back and in the process help him discharge a debt that he owed to the community. He is from Baltimore, a Baltimore native. But most of all, his book is about packaging the life that he had to grow up in. Growing up in a single parent household in the inner city sections of Baltimore, dealing drugs and spending a substantial portion of his early adult life in prison in a way that can benefit others. Sometimes we are taken through the fire to make sure we can shine on the other side, but also to be a blessing to beings who cannot be a blessing to us back. That's the ultimate true test of a servant. blessing someone else that cannot, not will not, but that cannot bless you back. That's what I'm taught at my church, Willow Avenue Baptist Church, 3826 Willow Avenue, with Pastor Martin D. Cosby is my pastor. There's a little joke in there. But with Adrian, he has learned to spread love with humility and many hard-earned lessons. So Adrian, thank you for now being in the trenches, being part of what was going on in the community, but now using your voice, your talents, your gifts, because we are all given gifts. No one is ever excluded. When you are birthed, you are given a gift. No one is excluded from their gifts. So thank you for your gifts. Thank you, Nichelle, for your story, your journey, and how you have brought this Rise with Perspective. And Vismaya, thank you for the portion of the Living with Gratitude today. And all of you all, you are an inspiration to us all. That phraseology that I learned as a kid, reach one, teach one. We want to make sure if we can have just that one, and every time we gather together, that we can provide inspiration, we can assist to provide them hope and change their lives. That's why we do what we do. Now, good people, your call to action is, and this can be done in any city that you may be in. Talk to your DA's office, your district attorney. Find out what's going on, what is the landscape of human trafficking, and how can you be assistance, and making sure that you're knocking on their door to let them know we got a problem and we want to try to solve it. 2, talk to your local schools. What is the funding ratio in campus police to student resources? Talk to them, because that's another breeding ground. We may not want to talk about it, but it is another breeding ground for human trafficking, using our babies to recruit babies. Talk to your schools. Support local organizations, 3, that are doing prevention work and mentoring programs. We want to take human trafficking below the radar and raise it above the radar. So support local organizations, volunteer your time. You have a gift that can be used to help support the cause. 4, serve on advisory boards with CPS volunteers and with CASA. Do some work. Brother John Lewis, rest his soul into the trumpet sound, said, get into some good trouble. Do some good trouble. Serve on some advisory boards. 5, become a foster parent and become a big brother, big sister program. There are countless of programs like Big Brothers and Sisters that will help those children to live a more sustainable qualitative life. So join them. And 6, bring human traffic awareness events to churches. We talked about that. Organizations, businesses, groups, and most importantly, your family. We may not want to talk about that, but that's sometimes where it actually starts. So bring awareness. Every little part that you do actually provides another step closer to curbing, to curing, to preventing, to saving, to all of those things that we are trying to do with Rise with Perspective. Don't forget, we will be in New York City on October 15th. Again, for more information, resources, anything of that nature, email risewithperspective@gmail.com. We appreciate you if you were able to join for a few minutes or a lot of minutes. We appreciate you so very much joining us. And again, be active, and make your voice be heard in this particular space to bring human trafficking below the radar to above the radar. With that being said, good people, I am again humbled, honored, grateful that I'm able to lend my voice, whatever talents that he blessed me with, for this worthy cause. Until the next time, because there will be a next time, until the next time, shalom and be blessed.